Hey everyone, and welcome back. Thanks for joining me for another explainer. We're diving into something seriously cool today, an incredibly exciting piece of hardware that promises to bring massive, uncompromising, and completely private AI power directly to our local desks. We are talking about the Hilbert Agentic Computer by Infplane. If you're someone who builds agent workflows, develops AI, or honestly just loves bleeding-edge tech, you're going to find this absolutely fascinating. We're looking at a compact desktop that claims it can fundamentally change how we interact with large language models every single day. So here is the big, provocative question we're tackling today. Can a compact desktop-sized machine actually deliver server-grade AI running massive models entirely locally, while at the exact same time having an alter ego that rivals a dedicated NVIDIA RTX 5070 in high-end gaming? I mean, it sounds a little like tech fiction, right? It's like two totally different machines crammed into a single box. But as we'll see from the specs and the data, this dual identity tech is very real, and it has some massive implications for creators, developers, and gamers. To figure out how they actually pulled this off, here is our roadmap for today. We'll start with its crowdfunding sensation, then dig into the specs under the hood. After that, we'll look at the AI workflows in OpenClaw, check out how it unleashes its gaming power, and finally, we'll talk about the price of all this power. All right, part one, a crowdfunding sensation. And let me tell you, the hype around this thing is very real. The Kickstarter campaign for the Hilbert was an absolute blockbuster. They originally set out to raise about $32,000. Nice and modest, right? Well, they completely blew past that, bringing in nearly $500,000, $497,189 to be exact. And what's wild is that this was funded by just 151 early adopters. If you do the math on that, the average pledge was over $3,000 per person. That tells us right out of the gate that this isn't just some casual, gimmicky gadget. This is serious equipment, and it's attracting serious professionals who instantly saw the value. Now, I know what you might be thinking. When we see a massively successful crowdfunding campaign for high-end hardware, it's totally natural to be a bit skeptical. Is it vaporware? Is it just a shiny 3D render? Well, Hilbert provided the ultimate social proof to silence the doubters. They literally shared the stage with AMD at CES 2026. Being featured by a massive silicon giant like AMD during their AI Development and Creation Unleashed presentation, that is huge. It proves this is backed and validated by the very companies making the chips that run it. Moving on to part two, specs under the hood. Let's look at how they built this beast. Getting into the raw hardware, this is an enthusiast's dream. At its core, it's rocking the AMD Ryzen AI Max Plus 395 processor, paired with AMD Radeon 8060S graphics. But the real showstopper here? It's the memory. We're talking 128 gigs of dynamic memory, and crucially, up to 96 gigs of VRAM. If you've ever tried running large language models, you know VRAM is the ultimate bottleneck. 96 gigs is literally an ocean of memory. It lets you load massive model weights locally without breaking a sweat. Oh, and to keep all that silicon from just melting down on your desk during heavy workloads, they managed to cram a full liquid cooling system into this compact chassis. But having good hardware isn't enough. You have to manage it. That's where their secret sauce comes in, a proprietary tech called Clean Intelligent Control. Developed by the Infplane team, Clean is basically a real-time smart grid for your PC. It dynamically coordinates the CPU, the GPU, and the memory. So instead of letting one component starve while another hogs all the juice, it reallocates power on the fly. This intelligent balancing act is what lets that Ryzen AI processor sustain incredibly high performance for hours without aggressively thermal throttling. Let's jump to part three, AI workflows and OpenClaw. Essentially, how this becomes your own local server. So what does all this hardware actually let you do? Well, because of that ridiculous 96 gigs of VRAM, the Hilbert can run truly massive AI models natively. We're talking about running a 235 billion parameter mixture of experts model, or even running 8 different 32 billion parameter LLMs at the same time. Think about the implications of that for a developer. First off, zero API costs. Every single prompt, every generation, totally free. Plus, because it's entirely local, you get absolute privacy. If you're feeding sensitive company data or proprietary code into an agent workflow, it never leaves your room. You get fast generation, no queue times, and a system custom built for complex coding tasks. And a contrast between its workflows really highlights the Jekyll and Hyde nature of this machine. By day, it is a deadly serious AI workstation. It's crunching massive LLMs, powering through Autodesk, and running local AI agents on Infplane's OpenClaw ecosystem. But by night, It transforms into an absolute powerhouse AAA gaming rig, booting up native Steam and Ubisoft libraries with performance that genuinely rivals some of the best dedicated gaming cards out there right now. Which brings us to part 4, unleashing gaming power. Let's talk about that alter ego. The campaign makes a super bold claim here. They proudly state that the Hilbert offers gaming performance on par with an NVIDIA RTX 5070. Now, let's be real. It is incredibly rare for a compact machine, one explicitly marketed as an AI workstation, to actually go toe-to-toe with a dedicated high-end gaming GPU from NVIDIA. If that claim holds up, it means buyers are literally getting 2 top-tier machines for the price of one. So let's see how that plays out in the actual benchmark data. Take the Dota 2 frame rates, for instance. The Hilbert running that AI Max Plus 395 is pushing a blistering 245 frames per second. The RTX 5070 laptop benchmark barely edges it out at 249 frames per second, a difference so tiny you'd never, ever notice it while playing. And it completely smokes the RTX 5060, which sits at 226. It just goes to show that the AMD silicon, backed by that Kellyan power allocation, genuinely delivers top-tier gaming muscle. And the best part is, you aren't locked into some restrictive, closed-off ecosystem to use all that power. It's totally open. You want Ubuntu, KarchiOS, SteamOS, or Fedora. It supports them all. For the creative folks, industry heavyweights like Autodesk, Ansys, Cinema 4D, and Blender run smoothly. For gamers, as we mentioned, you get native Steam and Ubisoft support, plus you can play with a keyboard or a gamepad. And yes, Wi-Fi and Bluetooth are built right in. It's pretty much a modern plug-and-play powerhouse for any workflow you throw its way. Finally, part 5, the price of power. Server grade, smartphone price. Okay, let's get down to the bottom line. The official MSRP for the Hilbert Agentic Computer is $3,999. Now, I know, $4,000 is definitely a significant chunk of change, but context is absolutely everything here. Think about it. If you tried to build a desktop or rent server space to get 96 gigs of VRAM just to run a 235 billion parameter model, you'd easily be dropping tens of thousands of dollars on enterprise GPUs alone. Getting that massive memory bandwidth inside a liquid-cooled desktop for under $4,000, that is remarkably aggressive pricing. And it was an even sweeter deal for the early believers during the crowdfunding phase. Those 151 Kickstarter backers had the chance to grab the super early bird tier for just $2,999. That's a full 25% off the retail price. They even offered massive discounts if you bought clusters of 2 or 3 machines to scale up your AI workflows. It's really no wonder that aggressive pricing strategy was such a massive driver behind their funding success. I love this quote from the Infplane team because it totally hits the nail on the head. They say they're building new generation desktops that deliver, quote, server-grade computing power at smartphone-level prices. Now, granted, high-end smartphones are getting crazy expensive these days, so the analogy holds up pretty well. The Hilbert fundamentally shifts the economics of high-end computing. You literally no longer need a corporate server room budget to do cutting-edge AI development. Which brings us to our final thought for today. With hardware like the Hilbert proving that we can pack liquid cooling and 96 gigs of VRAM into a quiet little box right on our desks, is the era of crazy expensive cloud AI API fees finally over? Seriously, when you can run massive models locally for free with total privacy and still have a beast of a gaming rig waiting for you after work, the math of cloud computing starts to look very, very different. I'll leave you to ponder the massive implications of that. Thanks so much for hanging out and learning with me today on this explainer, and as always, keep questioning the limits of your tech.